Namaste, dear students, and welcome to the virtual learning of SLV English Medium School. In this video today, I'm going to share with you all that one lesson of your English language textbook, which is very close to my heart and which has international standards. The one-act satirical play or drama that we have in the English language textbook, The Dear Departed, is penned down by Mr. William Stanley Houghton. The Dear Departed play is a satire on the society that gives or tends to give more importance to the things than to the people. So, The Dear Departed is a heartwarming one-act play which has got a lot of acclaim throughout the world across the lovers of English literature. So, without further delay, we begin reading The Dear Departed, first part in this video. The Dear Departed, Part 1. Characters: Mrs. Emilia Slater, Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan, their sisters, Mr. Henry Slater, Mr. Ben Jordan, the husbands of Emilia and Elizabeth respectively. Victoria Slater, a girl of 10, Emilia's daughter. Abel Merriweather, father of Emilia and Elizabeth. When the curtain rises, Mrs. Slater is seen laying the table. She is vigorous, plump, red-faced, vulgar woman, prepared to do any amount of straight talking to get her own way. She is in black. She goes to the window, opens it, and calls into the street. Mrs. Emilia Slater sharply: "Victoria, Victoria, do you hear? Come in, will you?" Victoria comes in. Mrs. Slater: "I am amazed at you, Victoria. I really am. Be off now and change your dress before your aunt It would never do for them to find you in colors with grandfather lying dead upstairs." Victoria: "What are they coming for? They haven't been here for ages." Mrs. Slater: "They're coming to talk over poor grandfather's affairs. Your father sent them a telegram as soon as we found he was dead." A noise is heard. Henry Slater, a stooping, heavy man with a drooping moustache, enters. He is wearing a black tailcoat, grey trousers, a black tie, and a bowler hat. Henry: "I'm wondering if they'll come at all. When you and Elizabeth quarrelled, she said she'd never set foot in your house again." Mrs. Slater: "She'll come fast enough after her share of what her father's left. You know how hard she can be when she likes. Where she gets it from, I can't tell." Henry: "I suppose it's in the family." Pause. "Where are my slippers?" Mrs. Slater: "In the kitchen. But you want a new pair. Those old ones are nearly worn out, nearly breaking down. You don't seem to realize what it's costing me to bear up like I'm doing. My heart's fit to break when I see the little trifles that belong to the father lying around, and think he'll never use them again." Briskly: "Here, you'd better wear these slippers of my father's now. It's lucky he just got a new pair." Henry: "They'll be very small for me, my dear." Mrs. Slater: "They'll stretch, won't they? I'm not going to have them wasted." She has finished laying the table. Henry: "I've been thinking about that bureau of my father's that's in his bedroom. You know I always wanted to have it after he died." Henry: "You must arrange with Elizabeth when you're dividing things up." Mrs. Slater: "Elizabeth is that sharp. She'll see I'm after it and we'll drive a hard bargain over it." Henry: "Perhaps she's got her eye on that bureau as well." Mrs. Slater: She's never been here since father bought it. If it was only down here instead of in his room, she'd never guess it wasn't our own. Henry, startled. Amelia, he rises. Mr. Slater, Henry, why shouldn't we bring that bureau down here now? We can do it before they come. Henry, stupefied. I wouldn't care to. Mrs. Slater, don't look so daft, why not? Henry, it doesn't seem delicate somehow. Mrs. Slater, we could put that shabby old chest of drawers upstairs where the bureau is now. Elizabeth could have that. And welcome. I've always wanted to get rid of it. She points to the drawers. Henry, suppose they come when we are doing it? Mrs. Slater, I'll fasten the front door. Get your coat off, Henry. We'll change it. Mrs. Slater goes out to fasten the front door. Henry takes his coat off. Mrs. Slater reappears. Mrs. Slater, I'll run up and move the chairs out of the way. Victoria appears, dressed according to her mother's instruction. Victoria, what have you got your coat off for, father? Henry, mother and I are going to bring grandfather's bureau down here. Victoria, are you planning to pinch it? Henry, shocked. No, my child. Grandpa gave it to your mother before he died. Victoria, this morning? Henry, yes. Victoria, he was drunk this morning. Mrs. Slater appears carrying a handsome clock under her arm. Mrs. Slater, I thought I'd fetch this down as well. She puts it on the mantelpiece. Our clock's worth nothing, and this always appealed to me. Victoria, that's Grandpa's clock. Mrs. Slater, be quiet. It's ours now. Come, Henry, lift your hand. Henry and Mrs. Slater, very hot and flushed, stagger in with a pretty old-fashioned bureau containing a locked desk. They put it where the chest of drawers was, and straighten the ornaments, etc. There's a knock at the door. The knocking is repeated. Victoria ushers in Ben and Mrs. Jordan. The latter is a stout, complacent woman with an irritating air of being always right. She is wearing an outfit of new mourning. Ben is also in complete new mourning. He's rather a jolly little man, but at present trying to adapt himself to the regrettable occasion. Mrs. Jordan sails into the room and solemnly goes straight to Mrs. Slater and kisses her. The men shake hands. Mrs. Jordan, well, Amelia, and so he's gone at last. Mrs. Slater, yes, he's gone. He was 72 a fortnight last Sunday. She sniffs back a tear. Ben chirpily, now, Amelia, you mustn't give way. We all got to die sometime or other. Mrs. Jordan, and now perhaps you'll tell us all about it. Mrs. Slater, father had been married this morning. He went out soon after breakfast to pay his insurance. Ben, my word, it's a good thing he did. Mrs. Jordan, he always was thoughtful in that way. He was too honorable to have gone without paying his premium. Henry, and when I came in, I found him undressed sure enough and snug in bed. Mrs. Slater, and when I'd finished dinner, I thought I'd take up a bit of something on the tray. He was lying there for all the world as if he was asleep. So I put the tray down on the bureau, correcting herself, on the chest of drawers, and went to waken him. A pause. He was quite cold. A pause. They wiped their eyes and sniffed back tears. Mrs. Slater, rising briskly at length, in a business-like tone. Well, will you go up and look at him now? Or shall we have tea? Mrs. Jordan, what do you say, Ben? Ben, I'm not particular. Mrs. Jordan, surveying the table. Well then, if the kettle is ready, we may as well have tea first. Mrs. Slater puts the kettle on the fire and gets tea ready. Henry, one thing we may as well decide now is the announcement in the papers. I was thinking of that. What would you put? A pause. Mrs. Jordan, Well, we'll think about it after tea. And then we'll look through his bits of things and make a list of them. There's all the furniture in his room, Henry. There's no jewelry or valuables of that sort, Mrs. Jordan, except his gold watch. He promised that to our Jimmy. Mrs. Slater, promised you Jimmy? I never heard of that. Mrs. Jordan, oh, but he did, Amelia. When he was living with us, he was very fond of Jimmy. Mrs. Slater, well, amazed. I don't know. Ben, anyhow, this is insurance money. Have you got the receipt for the premium he paid this morning? Mrs. Slater, I have not seen it. Victoria jumps up from the sofa and comes behind the table. Victoria, Mother, I don't think Grandpa went to pay his insurance this morning. Mrs. Slater, he went out. Victoria, yes, but he didn't go into the town. He met old Mr. Tattersall down the street and went off past St. Philip's Church. Ben, do you think he hasn't paid it? Was it overdue? Mrs. Slater, I should think it was overdue. Mrs. Jordan, something tells me he hasn't paid it. Ben, the drunken old beggar. Mrs. Jordan, he's done it on purpose just to annoy us. Mrs. Slater, after all I've done for him, having to put up with him in the house these 3 years, it's nothing short of swindling. Mrs. Jordan, I had to put up with him for 5 years. Mrs. Slater, and you are trying to turn him over to us all the time, Henry. But we don't know for certain that he has not paid the premium. Mrs. Slater, Victoria, run upstairs and fetch that bunch of keys that's on your grandpa's dressing table. Victoria, timidly, in grandpa's room? Mrs. Slater, yes. Victoria, I don't like to. Mrs. Slater, don't talk so silly. There's no one who can hurt you. Victoria goes out reluctantly. We'll see if he's locked the receipt up in the bureau. Ben, in where? In this thing? He rises and examines it. Mrs. Jordan also rising. Where did you pick that up, Amelia? It's new since last I was here. They examine it closely. Mrs. Slater, oh, Henry picked it up one day. Victoria returns very scared. She closes the door after her. Victoria, Mother, Mother! Mrs. Slater, what is it, child? Victoria, Grandpa is getting up. Ben, what? Mrs. Slater, what do you say? Victoria, Grandpa is getting up. Mrs. Jordan, the child is crazy. Mrs. Slater, don't talk so silly. Don't you know your grandpa is dead? Victoria, no, he's getting up. I saw him. They are transfixed with amazement. Victoria clings to Mrs. Slater. Ben suddenly, hissed, listen. They look at the door. A slight chuckling is heard from upstairs. The door opens, revealing an old man clad in a faded but gay dressing gown. He is in stockinged feet. Although over 70, he is vigorous and well colored. His bright, malicious eyes twinkle under his heavy, reddish grey eyebrows. He is obviously either the old man Abel Merriweather or else his ghost. Thank you, dear students. So this is the first part of the Dear Departed, and in the coming video we'll read out the second part of the Dear Departed. Thank you.